Mike Tyson was implied involved with Central Connecticut State University, was also demonstrated with Connecticut news media and their stories. They've been attaching little kids to fake locations, their families to fake locations, fake conversations about legal cases, and with people with a pattern through time, and then again with all sides in criminal and in civil cases, and with victims and with victims advocates and with people with the hallways of the courts and people that help set up the juries and things before with the same federal evidence as crimes rolls, organized crimes rolls, names, their family members involved with it. They attach me to fake conversations with WFSB to hide their roles with names with Connecticut interbranch, Wethersfield interbranch, on off the state judicial branch offices, on off conjunctions to it, like spots next to it, like people with the name Fienza, a whole bunch of people with Wethersfield Pizza, on off involved on off conjunctions to Two Rod Highway and Hang Dog Lane. Through time involved with state judicial branch offices, wire crime rolls of Wethersfield Pizza and the name Cololo. Bob Chase recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, has roles with a Phil Cololo and his confessions. Also involved with his roles with federal evidence crimes, with various natures of courts, with child offenders and other natures of organized crime bodies and federal criminals since before they got caught. Whiting Forensics has roles with the same house through time that's involved with wire crimes and Wethersfield police switching names, fabricating names, falsified police reports into databases. They put confessions tied to that. They switch names, put a charge with no writing. And then they make confessions, so they're stacking arrays of fake things, switching officers' names. A number of times they do that. So God knows what it says in their databases. They have a lady family with various natures of courts, pretended conversations with me as doctors, as the ones involved with wire crimes, little kids on my street when I was a kid. I never saw them on my street. These are people planting evidences with fake exceptions of people knowing each other. Rob Rodriguez made all these confessions to me at once. Then he brought up a child offender school. I caught that, and the other with the Fienzas. And next to the judicial branch offices, confirmed on Facebook. That's why they took me off. That's why they've been lying about their passion. When someone lies about their passions and emotions or those of others, the only way to tell is if they're leaving out what's actually simultaneously recorded true always. And the value of that, what came first, for example, not leaving out the smallest finite detail. If you're leaving out the smallest sequence, what's actually simultaneously valued. Black pupils, pair! See white to lie. In other words, Central Connecticut State University has a whole bunch, and New Britain, Connecticut has a whole bunch of people on all sides of it. They have that the little tricks with facts, with predicate acts, with facts, fake conversations, fake ties, fake natures of ties to people pretending into campuses' databases, including fire and medical campuses, including prison campuses, including them involved recorded with their patients and criminals before they got caught, even online. Some ways they involve Facebook. Some ways their campuses did. Some ways the FBI with their roles with sequence shifting, syntax racketeering. They have the words. They have the words like they have the word like extremism. Extremism is used as a word recorded criminally foreign influence uses of it, involved with criminally foreign influence uses of fact, human nature, quality aspects in nature that are relevant with questions of history. Also, tactical delusions. Our interbranch have been using words like that because they've been led by lawyers and they're even including military ones. So it's one thing to be a truther, oh, you're a lawyer, you know about like using the law to get over on what's actually recorded. They can't afford to have discerned what our founders left us to communicate, which includes having us understand why and how they had to counter extort the other founders, and why and how they were able to do it because the laws were so sickly, distinctly against everyone to keep out sickly, not distinctly left out. And that after they messed with them, they would have been so hurt themselves and others, they had to beg them for help to get away with it. Our founders still didn't have free speech. Our founders too were still sickly, distinctly tortured, extorted, and slaves. And we have the Constitution to get on a bridge. We have means to discern lawyers, tactically delusions, rock, criminally foreign influence, pretending it's things like positive. I like politics. Everyone can agree such, but that's not what it is. And what it is, that truth is being used for a lie. That's not the Constitution on a bridge. Fake branches bow, prepare to fall, build wall, /S. I tell it best, vaccines. So we have the medical locations and the policing of them. They're associated with anomaly being and having been exploited, like phenomena of databases and people's descriptions of instances and of names that are being and having been coached by their identities of law, including private lawyers, including military lawyers, switching names. No, still rolls with identity theft, fraud, slander method, needing to pretend others simultaneously. Need to value everyone, pretending lies about passions and emotions. They're right, get on paper. They've been preventing mandated law on paper to respond to, and they've been lying about their motivations as the courts too. Because they what are they little kids going to call them? You psychopaths. That's what they are. They want psychopathic calmness uses or aggressiveness uses. And they're teaching the kids to counter things with guns and violence. But then they're fakes when it comes down to it. You can't know, but they can't get on paper because they're trying to implant fake motives because they already had roles with uses, plural, but also singularly used by the breaching method, where they have all sides of criminal and of civil cases and victims advocates, including names of the hallways of the courts, private associated with the courts, not as them, but that through phenomena. So Sandy Hook, for example, has a number of people involved with the campuses there, involved other cities too, involved with child offenders before they get caught, people next to body dumping spots, the reported serial killer before he got caught, and since, per uses of the location. In other words, Hartford courts affected through women of their court associated with Eric Burgess. He was influenced also to lie to her by people involved with the FBI and foreign and domestic military on and off spots next to Central Connecticut State University in the Britain, and next to the spots all the way to there, from Wethersfield through Newington. A Clow family has roles with retired and standing Newington police officers' families, Hartford police families, and Rocky Hill police families, wire crimes, and roles with drugs and medicines crimes also on social media with Connecticut interbranch with child offenders, planting evidences, fake motives. They have roles with a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital with predicate acts on my street and wire crimes with Wethersfield police. Also, criminally foreign influence uses their databases, pretending kind conversations with people tied to this. Note how our class we have a classroom and we have classes where people are in our same grade. That doesn't mean we even saw them around. A police chief, Cintron, has a daughter named Jessica Cintron. I never saw her around. She wasn't even in my grade, but I never saw Reno Mazzucato on the campus I did school at. He tried to make one fake exception on a web school, which is also one of the ones with whiting forensics involved through time with people associated with his family, including his extended family of Police Chief Cintron, and one or more years ago, involved with the same house. I don't even know who the new police chief is, but I still haven't been responded to. They have names for forging and switching and confessions. They also brought up the name Colo, not giving the rest of the name, because they obfuscate, switch names, do things like that. These are identity theft, fraud, slander, sequence shift roles. These are roles with a Keene family and neighbors of theirs, like the name ones I don't even know the names of. But the Enzo Fianza and his cousin and women with foreign and domestic military and families, like Asian police forms and things with associated with Central Connecticut State University at Elm Streets and Rocky Hill locations, as collusions with people off the state judicial branch offices increasingly at other locations. Mike Roberts and people associated with him have been roles with people on off the state judicial branch offices, influencing the pretend with federal evidences crimes, with people on off Two Run Highway / Hangdog Lane in conjunctions to it. One of them is that corner is also with there's a Brian Silver and people with Connecticut District Court leading up to a 2006 District Court case with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin and his co-defendants. Robert Cheverie is their lawyer too, and next to his offices, which is not far from the Connecticut State Capitol, no, and with people from Washington through time, and New York City, involved further with post-dated documents into the Ninth Circuit Court. There are also roles with all sides of private and civil cases, and with people next to the courts, with the hallways of the courts, like with the criminally foreign influence uses of exception nature involved, which also takes appreciation for a special difference, which also we have black people's whites of eyes. Also takes appreciation of relativity. We have theories of relativity that are tactically delusions raw, while involved with criminally foreign influence, fact, treatment, nature, quality aspects of nature, and descriptions of people, things, instances, like extremism. Extremism is effectively measured and maintained. Uses to self-cultivate, effectively propagated, tactically, criminally foreign influenced, and simultaneously tactically delusions raw, quality aspects and fact treatment nature of the logic of the sciences individually grouped and together. Now note how difference is used by reason additional ways than from how by math. And know how that is obfuscated where how they have assigned the identity of math to be the identities of other sciences, claim to be math. They have the value of economics worth with readings of statutes and just with opinions, for example, that left out how each modern country was forced to entertain economic positions and natures of industries that were criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and still are. They still have the policing of these locations and uses of that. They have roles, couples, male and female, that want to ignore things to have a loving relationship. If people keep bringing confessions in, especially ones designed to demonstrate collusion /S, since we're the youngest kids, if you pay attention, we're being demonstrated to that the kids of the overt criminal enterprises and of the interbranch and their parents, they can't afford to have their logic discerned properly. Our founders communicated us to use for correlation how the branches were left self-valued and used remotely self-valued, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and simultaneously distinctly from everyone else. Because the contemplation of that, honestly, with that, nature shows us sickly non-distinctly by a breaching method that came from some ancient times. Is also evidence where they make convictions, where they make summary descriptions of everything, including the World Trade Center attack. WFSB has also been fabricating evidences regarding the World Trade Center and the people they've been attaching kids and adults that were in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center and spots next to the World Trade Center right before it. They've been attaching with names on off the World Trade Center in the court next to it to fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures and ties to them. Their roles were proven after the World Trade Center attack. Right before the attack, post-dated documents from inside the court had been post-dated to appear late to a panel of judges. Before we got home, the World Trade Center got attacked. Before we got home to Connecticut. That proven led up to a 2006 district court part of a case/S with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. And his co-defendant, Thaddeus Grabowski, is one of the ones on off Fox Connecticut News, leading up to the World Trade Center attack, in that attack in the context and since. Also with policing of schools, roles with predicate acts, criminally foreign influence, predicate acts with fact, criminally foreign influence, identity theft, fraud, slanders against people that aren't even in campus classes with them, never see them around campuses. And then some of them may make real fake, quick exceptions. I never saw a Ray Cololo or Heather Hansen who were put in a middle school, summer school class with me. It wasn't held at the middle school. It was held at one of the 10 campuses I went to. Also with people on the street, the streets of the campuses, through time involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. People that work for wire companies associated with the name Spada and Walters have roles with medical locations, with the intelligence community, foreign and domestic, with predicate acts, with facts, tricks, pretending not to realize, lying about passions and emotions, lying about their identity theft, fraud, slanders method. They have roles on off Trinity College and CCSU through time, and the spots next to it, all along Route 175 to there. Old Town Cafe. I never had anything to do with them. They tried to call me in there to pretend other. All exception nature. In other words, I have the verified thing. There's a Charlie Bowes. I never had anything to do with him. He's also one of the ones involved with the Ray Cololo and people forging and switching names with New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, and with the Facebook page of Wethersfield Police, also with planting evidence on all sides of my house, with those accounts and officers switching names, and one with the name Officer Jerry Miller, who also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed federal evidences crimes with the name Jerry Kerr. Now there are more than one Jerry Kerrs, and there's a Michael Kerr, who's also through time one of the ones with New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Courts, and the former director of the FBI. Also with spots along the Newington, along the Berlin Turnpike, and at the corner of Town Line Drive and Saulstein Highway. They've been with a whole bunch. That's one of the things that connects them to roles with other natures of federal crimes, child abuses, and with the principal child abuser. His campus through time rolls with mayors, a Mayor Gold, his daughter. There's people with the Whiting forensics through time, and then again recorded involved with federal crimes, with child abusers with them, other natures of federal criminals associated with them. Their witness protection program is evolved also with all sides of criminal of civil cases, with the names of the courts and the police forms involved, and the locations names involved with time, federal evidences, crimes, and pretending passions and emotions, criminally foreign influence, uses of strangers' names, uses of exceptions too, attaching everyone to fake conversations about things, asking them questions about that afterwards, and just writing what they want. They've been fabricating things into Wethersfield Police Department's databases with other police forms and with other departments' roles, and their family members also faking motivations because they have remote uses of themselves, criminally foreign influence. There were a whole bunch of people tied to Koreans with a Daryl Chandler. I don't even know his family's name. They're with the intelligence community people and people with Korea that know my name. I don't know their names. On and off the Wethersfield Police Department where they are, and with people names next to them. Also online. They're pretending passions and emotions regarding what people speak. See, the news is not supposed to pretend. They're not supposed to pretend they're not trying to air things because they're fake when they know they're fake. They put fake things to prevent people from speaking and pretend fake motivations because they have judges forging and switching names. That's not the excuse. They need to get on paper. They have wire crime acts with their phones too, pretending not to. Everyone just keeps. I hear no evil, see no. They don't. You know what I mean. They know that to an extent that there's fake things being stacked in their databases, that where and how they communicate as psychopaths, pretending that why and how they pretend emotions, hide emotions when they're making serious treatments of subjects. They're preventing what's actually recorded from being discerned. Now, this is not something you could see. You have to allow people to argue. They're jumping into arguments so they can hide what came first, because the identities and locations have been used criminally for an influence, tactically delusions, rot, and that's used remote too for other. And not only this knew that was going to cause other, and it was roles right there to keep all that and that. And the difference is kept needing to value that and how proper logic, names uses at all locations had been prevented already. This is manifest with the human syntax nature, the complete possession of a human fact treatment nature breaching method. This is part of how and why a little kid with no degree, whether you're referred to or you refer to yourself black, white, what, we all hyper native too. No, not Native American, because that value is only increasing while nature demonstrates the hyper native system that it is. We are systems other now. And they replace the history of what is science is unabridged with its proper words of culture's course. Vaccines, we have black people's whites of eyes. That is a means to answer questions. That is a means to discern when people are speaking about black or white. If they're hiding the significance of the slightest finite detail, they're hiding the significance of what is simultaneously actually recorded that we know when they speak with passions and emotions or when they don't. And when you don't speak with passions and emotions, where how the course of black people's whites of eyes is abridged and others pretended, you're a psychopath. And see, that's forced. That's recorded forced. Roles being a psychopath and sensing anyone being calm when they should and or have the right to be, and or being aggressive when they should and or have the right to be. See, we have to be led by the hyper invisible, but still discernible, which comes with using not leaving out the smallest finite detail, not leaving out the value of what we know is simultaneously relative to. What was the relativity of how the suburbs were designed tactically denatured before our founders were born with slavery entrenched north and south? While the designs of the cities unfolded, a breaching method was present, measuring and maintaining the real causes of negative value nature, progressions, action, nature, simultaneously blamed on other things other than themselves while being propagated were roles with criminal insidiousness, natures of positive treatments, as syntactical collusions, as identity names uses collusions, names even of ground locations, natures of industry. We are now systems tactically ulterior from the one we cannot escape. Nature, the breaching method knew correctly. Nature would continually demonstrate this to us, and the breaching method. So it set up a whole bunch of other distinct identities of criminal insidiousness, natures of wrongdoing, and quality aspects in nature itself as criminal insidiousness, natures of positive treatments, negative treatments, and or identity treatments, and value treatments. Value has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, the same way, distinctly, but also non-distinctly from how identity does. And what keeps that non-distinctly is what is the every identity has a semi-nature relationship to. So Each part of our body, individually grouped and together, has a semi-nature relationship to our complete identity. And that further, the species body, male, female, species body, individuals. Other species bodies have this too. There is an identity of hyper invisible but still discernible. That comes not just with the physically discernible and the invisible but still discernible. The correlation between this is an identity is plus the value only increasing of discerning distinctly. It has a simultaneous nature. Being individuals being a simultaneous nature / sequence nature, and or the opposite sequence simultaneously. This is how we are a Trinity. This is how English was revealed to be taught. Descriptions and uses of what's written and the locations associated. All locations are offensively affront to mandated law and pretending other, because they're hiding what came first. So it's significant how there are recorded conscious uses of little kids and their parents knowing they have to pretend passions and emotions because they can't afford what correlation has and means to voice with kids before they're in third grade. For our founders, they left us to communicate other for themselves. They left us not to blame ourselves or our founders or the other countries that were themselves sickly tortured, extorted, and enslaved, and just rolls with it. The sciences became a bridge before modern nations were founded. They became self-rallied roles of the defenses of the sciences abridged because defenses of themselves as fact-sheet nature became abridged. They became self-valued uses of the names of the species body as individuals group difference /S and species difference. Now tactile terrier from what nature's communicating us about this. We could be one species that stays systems other than, we could stay criminally foreign influence systems other than tactile terrier from the one that reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means its way. But, in other words, we have only been allowed to appreciate criminal insidious natures of evolution. Negative. Positives only as negatives and as their nature, criminal insidious nature. I'm not a lawyer. It is every person, most people would agree. Lawyers and the interbranch regarding these serious things. They have criminally foreign influence, fact-sheet nature, quality aspects, natures, and tactical delusions. And this is exploited by people pretending passions and emotions against strangers, including where we are time going to be, because then people are going to describe it as not strangers. Even if they even do mix the ones who do, they just walk by someone take a picture, and then mix that with the people you don't know at all, and they're all putting fake things in backgrounds. The sources of the interbranch of all sides of criminal and of civil cases, and the victims and the victims' advocates, and all kinds of medical corruption, fire campuses, medical campuses, prison campuses. I don't know if the state judicial branch offices conjunctions to it. I don't know if the state prison offices conjunctions to it. The same names were planting evidences, federal evidences, crimes on boxing gyms from off the locations and with the people they involved with it, with the exceptions, and then uses of that. There are people involved with a named Joe DeMoro, who's involved with various natures of lawyers and people with taxes and the intelligence community, criminally foreign influence, and roles with child abusers. On off Central Connecticut State University, criminally foreign influence uses of child campuses, intercities, and of people associated with the name of Prusi and overt criminal enterprises, and their roles on off campuses timed with also the news, planting fake conversations and ties to kids, fake natures of ties to kids, including with doctors of mental health. They're pretending are value they aren't. Those people are recorded sickest people you would see. You see on paper, and with judges too, and their family members sick as actually recorded, so they can't afford to have it what's actually recorded discerned. So they have all kinds of predicate acts with fact checks and roles self-value with all locations slash S. The worst negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Obviously, the breaching method employed then blamed on other things, others ourselves, indiscernibly so. That's why don't leave out the significance of how and why we have to be able to use passions and emotion and aggression. And we have to be able to stay calm and not be shut off, too. When people are pretending that against us, people just jump into it. This is why the streams of court are packed each day as an excuse for them, who are a certain type of frustrated victim slash hyper victim predator. This is what makes wars. Self-value. Uses to obfuscate what? Each history is about individually grouped and together. Each thing about it. Like saying about it all. So you have people, the news is offensively pretending they don't want to hear fake. That's not what the law says. The law says you're supposed to give everyone their voice. They disagree. Get them on paper then. Fix the fake news. Fix the fake news. MSN, NBC, CNN, Fox News. You guys have your Facebook pages. You guys have your Twitter pages. Respond. They get them on paper. The Connecticut Integrated, a whole bunch of different courts and their family members involved increasingly with people on my street with predicate acts tied to the ones with the wire crimes right now with the Wethersfield police involved switching names, forging names, confessions, was actually recorded over their phones. They're replacing transcripts. Fear God! Before the World Trade Center attack, these are ones intercities, Connecticut, also interstates and foreign, criminally foreign influences, with criminal foreign influences, with criminal enterprises, including private ones when they were kids, has something to do with their names and roles all along Route 175, other routes. They involve people like there's a Joe I.L.O. who's involved with men and women attaching little kids to fake ties on campuses to other kids. They try to make fake exceptions. The little tricks with databases, facts, then online too. Former Mayor Golden and his family member involved with forensics locations with child offenders, even sexual and medical and judicial, various courts involved with the Bob Chase and with this Joe Aiello and with people along Griswold Street, also with Russians. Peruta is one of the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They also attached me to fake World Trade Center attack conversations with others and with themselves as the news media involved with this. So WFSB is also with wire crimes with their phones. Then they're influenced to pretend it's personal. They're playing games because this method has them lie, pretend they're not liars. They lie about emotions. They lie about what they feel about their own emotions and about those of others because they're preventing finite details from being surfaced because they made them up and hid them. They're preventing what is simultaneously actually recorded from being discerned. They hid exculpatory evidences and made up inculpatory ones fake, criminally foreign influence with foreign bodies. On off Paul Manafort Drive in Central Connecticut State University, also national and international news like CNN and their sources. There's a Bobby who's a female who has a number of boyfriends involved with UPS and MIT, other and with databases or involved organized crime with judges and prosecutors, investigators used remotely, people on off District Court of Connecticut involved leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since, on off campuses, plant predicate acts with facts, roles with child abuses, then uses the effects of that as adults with abuses of others' kids, including strangers, all including how they have juxtaposed natures of organized crime and not legitimate roles with it. Fear God. They have something to do with the insurance companies too. They're investigating. They can't invest. How could they investigate? See black pupils, whites of eyes. They implied that they had conversations with my name, with Mike Tyson. Besides the fact the news media did. Gail King, please make sure that WFSB gets onto the paper with the people at CCSU. There's a guy associated with you with the law and your family members that were brought up with the FBI, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and people that worked for Hartford courts and the news military who were influenced to federal evidences crimes on off campuses and parks and religious spots. So make sure they get onto paper because this is before the World Trade Center attack, and there were timed uses of people, timed roles with that and uses of that. It's also recorded from people from Wethersfield and demonstrated involved with people along town line, people with conjunctions to Hang Dog Lanes and Town Line and Two Rod Highway. Has some and the mayor's involved, planting fake things in databases, also with medical families. A bunch of little kids through time recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. A Leahy family is involved with abuses of them, sexual and medical, their roles with drugs, with the FBI and federal criminals associated with him. There's something to do with the people on off Two Rod Highway and Hang Dog Lane and the land there. And people from Central Connecticut State University also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. People with the business offices are associated with Heather Hansen, also as one of the ones with a John LeConte's daughter, and with people with the name Joe Lombardo, and with teachers she had involved with predicate acts with them, and with people with overt criminal enterprises next to Trinity College, even if they're police forms with them. People with UConn involved with the police forms and doctors of psychiatry, foreign and domestic, who've been planting evidences at crime scenes, including with overt criminal enterprises, all sides of criminal and civil cases, and their roles with names on the with corners of streets involved near me, timed uses of them with the witness protection program involved. So it's a serious thing. There are all kinds of ties to it. Also, a Cortina tile, I believe, is the name of it. If I mess that up, blame it on the finances and the people off the state judicial branch offices and the Wethersfield police and our Wethersfield pizza. Get them on paper with the Wethersfield police still. And the courts, Hartford courts, the Britain's courts, people with foreign, different kinds of sick fucking people, excuse my language. Make sure they get on paper and say sorry to all the other presidents that came before, not just Trump or Obama, not just Biden. And don't let them sell value roles with these fake punks anymore. Don't let them speak with passions and emotions for service until this is done. Nature shows us how that's fake. And every exception is exploited too. Make sure they pick one name in sequence. You want to debate, that's fine. Make sure you get on, and don't debate me about things you don't know about. And don't pretend you know because the databases are fake. Get them on the paper. Get the federal news because you guys are involved with world things. You guys are kidding people, keeping them killed. You guys went right. You hid this right through administration from before the World Trade Center attack. Same ones increasingly with the news. Now then attach me to fake conversations with themselves and other after the attack too about the World Trade Center with the news. Use planting evidences, crimes, federal evidences, crimes from there. While the interbranch had roles with crime scenes from there too. Fear God. I'll break you down.